You have been told that buildings take months, sometimes years, to rise from the ground, but in one Chinese city, an entire structure was assembled in 28 hours, and the moment the last section clicked into place, engineers around the world went silent because what they were watching should not have been possible at that speed, and yet it happened right in front of live cameras and drone footage that later spread across the internet like wildfire. And here is the real question that nobody seems to be asking out loud. If a fully functional building can be stacked together in a single day, why is the rest of the world still pouring concrete by hand and waiting weeks for it to cure? Why are cities everywhere still trapped in slow, expensive, weather-dependent construction, while one country appears to have quietly solved a problem that has haunted architecture for centuries? And what is even more unsettling is that this is not some experimental prototype hidden away in a lab. This is happening at scale, on real construction sites, with real families waiting to move in. So what exactly changed? What did engineers figure out that the rest of the industry missed? And more importantly, what are they not telling you about how far this technology has already gone? What makes this even stranger is that the footage did not come from a heavily edited promotional reel. It came from independent observers filming with nothing more than a phone, standing at a safe distance while cranes lifted enormous finished sections into place one after another. And once you see a building rise like that in real time, something shifts in how you think about what a city is even capable of building in the future. So before going any further, it helps to understand exactly what kind of structure this actually is, and why the stakes around solving construction speed have become so urgent in the first place. To understand any of this, you first have to understand what modular construction actually is. At its core, it is the idea of building entire sections of a structure, walls, floors, plumbing, wiring, even finished interiors, inside a controlled factory environment instead of out in the open where rain, wind, and unpredictable weather can delay everything for weeks. Once those sections are complete, they are transported to the actual site and assembled like enormous, load-bearing puzzle pieces, and the company leading this movement in China, known as Broad Group, did not stumble into this idea by accident. They were responding to a very real and very old problem. Traditional construction is slow because it is sequential. One team has to finish the foundation before another team can start the framing, and another team has to finish the framing before the electricians and plumbers can even step onto the site. Every delay multiplies, every weather event pushes the timeline back further, and every mistake made on site is expensive to fix because it happens in front of the entire project rather than in a controlled space where errors can be caught early. Broad Group looked at this chain of inefficiency and asked a deceptively simple question: what if most of the building could be finished before it even reaches the site? This idea is not entirely new. If you go back far enough, you find early versions of prefabrication appearing in the aftermath of major wars. When entire nations needed emergency housing built fast for displaced families, factories in the mid-20th century experimented with shipping pre-built wall panels and even entire rooms to disaster zones. And those early attempts, while crude compared to today, proved something crucial: that a building did not have to be constructed piece by piece in real time to be strong, safe, or livable. Decades later, Chinese engineers took that forgotten concept and pushed it further than anyone had dared. Combining precision manufacturing, heavy-duty cranes, and standardized modular units that could interlock with structural accuracy measured in millimeters, they were not just building faster, they were rethinking what construction even meant. And this obsession with speed did not stay confined to modular buildings alone. Another company entered the picture with an even stranger idea. A company called Winson began exploring whether entire houses could be printed the way a document is printed on paper, layer by layer, using a nozzle the size of a small vehicle instead of an inkjet cartridge. The material was not ink. It was a custom blend of recycled construction waste and cement, extruded with such precision that walls formed themselves without a single laborer laying a single brick. When this idea first appeared, most people assumed it was a gimmick, a novelty stunt designed for headlines rather than real housing. But the buildings kept appearing, they kept standing, and they kept surviving inspections that traditional structures are held to. So the mystery deepens even further. Why would anyone trust a house that came out of a machine instead of the hands of a skilled builder? And why does this approach seem to be gaining traction specifically in a country facing enormous pressure to house hundreds of millions of people quickly? The answer to that question is tied to something bigger than convenience. It is tied to a housing crisis that has been building for years. Rapid urban migration, aging infrastructure, and disaster-prone regions all created a demand for shelter that traditional methods simply could not keep up with. And it was in that pressure cooker environment that both modular assembly and 3D printed construction found their opening. But knowing that these technologies exist is only the surface of the story, because understanding how they actually pull this off, how a machine can print a load-bearing wall, or how a crane can stack an earthquake, resistant building in less time than it takes to plan a wedding, is where things get genuinely interesting. To understand how Broad Group manages to assemble a building in under 30 hours, You have to stop imagining construction as something that happens outdoors, because almost none of it does anymore. The real work happens inside massive factory floors, where entire building modules are manufactured under strict quality control, away from rain, wind, and the unpredictability that slows down every traditional job site. Each module is essentially a finished slice of the building, complete with structural steel framing, insulation, wiring, and plumbing already installed. And because this happens indoors on an assembly line, workers can achieve a level of precision that is nearly impossible to replicate. Outdoors, tolerances are measured in millimeters rather than inches, which means when modules arrive on site, they fit together almost perfectly. This is where the engineering becomes genuinely clever, because stacking modules is not like stacking boxes. Each module must transfer structural load safely down to the one below it. Broad Group achieves this using reinforced steel connection points, engineered specifically to lock modules together into a single rigid structure, rather than a stack of separate, weakly connected pieces. This matters enormously in a country where earthquakes are a constant threat, because a poorly connected modular building could fail catastrophically during seismic activity. So engineers designed the connection system to behave more like a unified frame, distributing stress evenly instead of concentrating it at weak joints. Independent stress tests and demonstrations have shown these structures withstanding significant simulated seismic force without structural failure. And that single detail is what convinced skeptical regulators to allow large-scale deployment. Now compare this to Winsun's printed construction, which solves a completely different problem. Instead of assembling pre-built pieces, Winsun's massive printers extrude material directly, using a specially formulated mixture of recycled industrial waste and cement, laid down in continuous layers that harden as the next layer is added on top. This is not far removed from the basic principle of 3D printing you may already know, except scaled up to the size of a small warehouse. The printer moves along a fixed track or gantry system, depositing precise beads of material exactly where the design specifies, layer after layer, until walls and even structural elements rise on their own. One of the most remarkable advantages is material efficiency. Traditional construction generates enormous waste from cut lumber, excess concrete, and packaging, but printed construction uses almost exactly the material required and nothing more, because the machine is following a digital blueprint rather than human estimation. This dramatically reduces both cost and environmental impact. And because recycled waste can be blended into the printing material, the process turns what used to be landfill debris into structural building material. Winsun has publicly demonstrated cost reductions, reported to be significantly lower than equivalent traditional construction for similar structures, and construction timelines that shrink from months down to a matter of days. When you combine Broad Group's rapid modular assembly with Winsun's printed efficiency, you start to see two very different engineering philosophies solving the same core issue. One compresses time by pre-manufacturing everything before assembly day arrives. The other compresses cost and waste by manufacturing exactly what is needed, precisely, on demand. Both approaches share a hidden advantage that rarely gets attention. Quality control becomes centralized rather than dependent on individual site conditions. A factory does not have to fight against sudden rain or extreme heat mid-pour. A printer does not get tired, distracted, or make a measurement error out of fatigue. This is why these buildings often outperform expectations in inspections. They are not just fast, they are shockingly consistent in structural quality. But if these methods really are this efficient, this strong, and this cost-effective, field measurements taken after completed projects have shown thermal performance that meets or exceeds many conventional builds, thanks to tightly controlled insulation placement, something that is notoriously inconsistent when installed by hand on a traditional site. Engineers have also pointed out that factory-built modules undergo pressure testing before they ever leave the production line, catching hidden flaws long before installation, which is something a traditional job site simply cannot replicate. Once walls are already closed up, the obvious question becomes impossible to ignore. Why hasn't the rest of the construction industry already switched over completely? The honest answer is that speed and strength are only part of the equation. Because real-world construction is shaped by far messier forces than engineering alone, building codes in most countries were written decades before modular assembly existed. And updating those regulations is a slow, bureaucratic process that resists rapid change. Inspectors, insurers, and city planners often require extensive new certification before they will approve a construction method that does not fit traditional definitions. This alone can delay adoption by years, even when the technology is proven and available. Maintenance also introduces complications that rarely make it into promotional footage. Modular connection points, while strong, require precise long-term monitoring, because any settling in the ground beneath the structure can stress those joints unevenly. Printed concrete structures face a different challenge entirely. The material mixture must be carefully controlled for weather during printing. Extreme cold can cause improper curing, and extreme heat can cause cracking, which limits where and when these methods can be reliably deployed. Transportation is another overlooked obstacle for modular buildings. Specifically, massive prefabricated modules require specialized trucks, cranes, and road clearance, which becomes extremely difficult in dense cities or mountainous regions. This is part of why widespread adoption has been slower in older, congested urban centers, where narrow streets and existing infrastructure were never designed for such large deliveries. Economics also play a quieter but powerful role in slowing adoption. Traditional construction companies have spent decades building supply chains, labor contracts, and business models around slow, manual construction methods. Shifting to automated printing or modular assembly threatens those existing systems, and industries rarely embrace disruption that reduces their own workforce demand. There is also a cultural and aesthetic resistance that cannot be ignored. Many buyers still associate handmade, traditionally built homes with higher perceived value. While printed or modular structures are sometimes viewed with unfair skepticism, even when their structural performance meets or exceeds traditional standards, convenience culture adds one more layer to this resistance. Governments and developers often prefer methods they already understand, even if a newer method is objectively faster or cheaper in the long run, because familiarity reduces political and financial risk on large public projects. So who should actually consider these technologies today? Disaster relief organizations are an obvious answer. Because rapid, durable shelter can save lives in the critical weeks after a crisis, governments facing severe housing shortages should seriously examine both approaches, especially in regions with predictable climates suited to printing or modular transport. However, in areas with extreme seismic risk, dense urban geography, or harsh climate swings, careful engineering review is still essential before large-scale deployment. These are not universal replacements for traditional construction just yet. They are powerful tools suited to very specific and very urgent problems. The future of construction is clearly shifting towards speed, precision, and sustainability, and the countries willing to update regulations and adapt their industries early may end up solving housing crises that others continue to struggle with for decades. Financing adds one final obstacle that rarely gets discussed in glossy news coverage. Banks and lenders are often hesitant to approve loans for unconventional construction methods because resale value and long-term depreciation data for these newer building types is still limited compared to decades of historical data on traditional homes. This makes early adopters somewhat like pioneers, benefiting from innovation while also carrying the uncertainty that comes with any emerging technology. As more of these buildings age gracefully over the coming years, that uncertainty is expected to shrink, and financing options should naturally expand. What China has built is not just a faster building, it is a preview of an entire industry reimagined. And the real question moving forward is not whether this technology works. It is whether the rest of the world is willing to change fast enough to use it. If this kind of engineering story fascinates you, subscribe for more deep dives like this one, and check out the next video where we break down the world's most extreme construction projects.